Well, I'm really excited today because I have been looking forward to this interview for quite some time. I want to welcome Adrienne to the Flower Podcast.
Hi, Scott.
This is so great. So, for if those of you who don't know, she lives in Paris, France, and she has this wonderful story that I can't wait to hear. And so, before we jump into details about your flower shop, I want to hear, how did you end up in Paris?
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited. This is my first podcast ever.
Yay,
So I can't wait to sit here and talk flowers with you.
that's awesome.
And okay, how did I move to Paris? Oh, geez.
You're
Whoa,
not
whoa,
from
whoa.
there
I'm not
originally.
from, okay, so I'm from San Diego, California,
Okay,
originally. And my parents are actually horticulturists. My mom was a
really?
florist. Yeah, my mom was a florist her whole life. And my dad is, I think, kind of like you, like he's a broker of plants. So
Mhm.
he's always visiting nurseries, and actually, Rocket Farms is his company. So, do you have Trader Joe's in Atlanta?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so, all of their little sugar skulls during Halloween with the Tillandsia, like
Yeah,
my dad puts those on the shelves at Trader Joe's.
how
Tons of plants,
fun.
pretty much all of their plants, orchids, succulents, same with Whole Foods. Ralph's, he's the supplier of all of their plants. So I grew up around flowers and plants. I like know the name of every tree that I just, it's just in there. I've never studied flowers. I'm not a certified and plant lady or flower lady by any scholarly means, but I was living in LA in college. I studied journalism at Cal State University Northridge, CSUN. And I just wanted to go on a Euro trip with my friend Lauren. So we traveled around. We went to Italy, we went to Spain, and then we came to France. And we were staying with one of her grandparents' best friends. And I
Fun.
was hesitant to do that. I wanted to stay at the hostel or find a cool hotel and be around young people. But my friend reassured me that this was really going to be a cool experience. We go stay with these French people. It's a real, authentic French cultural thing to do. And they ended up having a beautiful apartment in the south of France. They invited their grandson over for dinner. And when he walked through the door, I had the biggest crush ever on him. He was so cute. He just got back from studying in Oxford. So he spoke perfect English.
Oh my
And he was
goodness.
just, yeah, he was my French crush from the second I saw him. But then I went back to LA, obviously, and I had to finish my studies. And I never thought I would see him again. But one day he literally appeared on my doorstep
In the US.
in the US, in
Uh-huh.
LA. He had contacted my roommate, and she knew about him because I had told her, like, I met this French guy. He sends me texts and flowers to work. And I don't know why, because I'm never going to be like, what's the
Yeah.
point? Why? That's nice of him, but he lives in France. So, and I didn't even know the word bonjour. Like I didn't know one word. I kind of grew up around um hearing a lot of Spanish, so like I was familiar.
Sure.
But French, I had never heard one word of French in my entire life.
I was wondering about that, which,
Such a
okay.
so foreign to me,
Okay.
France. I mean, I didn't even want to go to France. My friend forced me to go to France. That was the last place I want to go, but she wanted to stay with these people. We had a free place to stay, so that's why we ended up there. And then
Right.
I just was not into France. I don't know why. But yeah, he appeared on my doorstep. He's in production. So he was going to do a production internship in LA. And we just really hit it off. Like we spent so much time together when he was in LA. And then when he left, we just started going back and forth for 2 years. And that whole entire time he was trying to move to LA. Because as I said, he's in production. And I never thought about moving to Paris at all, but he couldn't get a visa. It's really hard. And I realized it would be easier for me to get a visa and try to live here. So when I graduated college, I thought this is the time, like I should go now, or what Ben and I are, what are we doing? Like it's been 2 years of going back and forth, and we wanted to try. being in the same place. So I moved to Paris, not knowing one word in French. It was
Oh
terrifying.
my
But I
gosh.
moved with my cat and 2 luggages. It was insane.
Uh, okay,
My
that's just
dad helped me with my yeah, and then we just came. He dropped me off, and I've been here ever since.
so what did your parents think about this?
I feel like they're hesitant. I think that they've grown to love me living in Paris now because they get to come, and my mom has now read like every book about Paris, and sometimes we're walking down the street now and she'll see something and she'll like tell me the history behind it. And I'm like, "Mom,
Oh,
I think it's so nice." And I think that they've grown to love me living in Paris, but initially it was just weird. I think
yeah.
I just decided to move so far away from them, but they've definitely warmed up, I think.
Well, I'm sure they see you happy, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, all right. So now you live in Paris, and
Yep.
you. What's next? Because I'm like, how do you come to own a
Okay.
flower shop?
I'm living in Paris, in a tiny little studio with my boyfriend. We literally have 2 spoons. And I'm going from living in LA with a huge walk-in closet, like just excess everything, car, I was working in fashion PR, to living in this tiny little apartment, just me, my cat, my shared an armoire with my boyfriend. I had like 1 pair of pants at this point. I just minimized my life so much. I spent my days, I was babysitting a 3-year-old boy for some cash and walking around Paris every day with this little kid. I was his nanny. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. As I said, I was doing PR in LA. So I was thinking like maybe I can do that, but I don't know. And I literally just spent my days going into flower shops in Paris because it reminded me of being home, I think.
Oh
Just
yeah.
it was, so I would just go into every single flower shop I saw, and I realized that that's, I don't know, just what made me feel comfortable. And I knew I was getting my work visa after 1 year of living in Paris. I was able to apply for a work visa. And I saw that the flower shop down the street from my house, which was my favorite one, I had seen them all, really. And I knew this was the best one. It resembled, I worked in a flower shop in LA called the Empty Vase when I was in
Mm,
college.
okay.
And it looked like that. And actually, the owner of the Empty Vase, Saeed, hi, Saeed, I love you if you're listening. Thank you. He got his start in Paris. So his shop was kind of Parisy in a way.
Okay.
And I think that's interesting. So this shop resembled his, and I fell in love with it. And I went in there. I remember right before I went, I looked up how to say, "Hi, I'm Adrienne. Je m'appelle Adrienne. Je veux travailler ici. I would like to work here." I said it 100 times on the metro. And then I got there and I said, "Bonjour, je m'appelle Adrienne. Je veux travailler ici." I said, "I'm going to get my visa tomorrow to work." They said, "Are you a florist?" And I was like, but kind of. My mom was. I mean, I did sales at the other flower shop, so honestly, never had really touched like made a bouquet or composed something. Um, but I somehow convinced them to give me a job, and I started the next day. Literally, the day I got my visa, I started at this flower shop, which is really special. It's the oldest flower shop in Paris. It's been there for over 100 years,
Yeah.
and it's
Okay, so I can't
really,
wait.
really nice.
I can't wait to dig into this story about the shop because
Coolest shop
just
ever.
it's just so beautiful. So
It
um
really is.
now I thought you had to have some sort of, and it's only because I know a little bit, very little. I have a customer in Atlanta that is a French. I mean, I think she's from France. She's a French national, and she
Hmm.
has a shop here in Atlanta. And so I see some similarities with her store and yours, actually, which I think is one of the reasons why I was so intrigued by yours. But I thought that you had to have some kind of a license to practice floristry in France, or is that
I
maybe just to
mean,
buy flowers there in the wholesale market?
I buy flowers at the wholesale market.
Oh, I'm
So
sure. Yeah.
I think that I went about it obviously in my own way, but
Right.
like I said, I've never studied flowers. Actually, all of the girls who work with me at the shop now have. I even
Okay.
have one intern. She's going through flower school right now and working at the shop uh, as part of her school thing that you have to do.
Hmm.
Um,
Like an
and
internship.
yeah, it's like she does 1 week at the shop, 1 week in school, 1 week at the shop, 1 week in the, back
Mhm.
and forth. Um, I think that because I kind of just talked my way into getting the job, really. I pretended like I knew how to do anything. They said, "Can you drive?" I said, "Yeah," but did I have my license in France? No. So I had to get my license right after I got the job. And it was so hard getting my license in France, but they said, "Can you make a bouquet?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I just watched the way they did it and kind of did the same thing. And I mean, also along the way, they helped me. They taught me so much, the old owners of this flower shop. So they really helped me a lot. But I think because I bought this business that already had everything set up,
Right.
that's why I'm able to go about it without having my flower certification or something. I
Yeah.
think
Right.
maybe in France, if you want to start a business, you have to have that. But because I bought the business, it already had all of this stuff kind of set up, which is
Sure.
why I
Sure.
wanted to buy a shop as opposed to starting my own because everything's already set up for me. And I figured setting that all up in France in French is just going to be way too hard.
Yeah. No, I get it, and it's really brilliant in a way because it's like everything was turnkey, already ready to go. There was already
Yeah.
systems in place. It already had a
We already have the
reputation.
parking garage,
Yeah.
reputation for over 100 years. We already have all of the clients. I mean, I hired the girls that work there, but I hired them kind of while I was transitioning buying the shop. So they kind of came along with it. Like they worked for Alan and Christine, but also they worked for me kind of at the same time because they knew
Yeah.
I was buying the shop. So it was, I think it was meant to be.
Sure. So tell us about the
Yeah.
shop. I mean, over 100 years old. What's I mean, how much of the history do you know?
It's really special. I met the daughter of the original no, the granddaughter of the second owner. She came by and she kind of told me a little bit of the background. It's always had the same address. It used to be called A la Riviera, which is actually where I met my boyfriend, A la Riviera in
Oh,
France.
how cool.
And then 30 years ago, when the owners that I bought it from purchased the shop, they changed the name to La Rosoir, which I was telling you before
Yeah.
means the watering can. And I was laughing because La Rosoir is like the hardest thing to say ever in France. And I don't know how I ended up with that name as I can barely say it and just figured out how to pretty much say it like a month ago.
So how long ago how long have you had the store?
Okay, so I was supposed to buy the shop initially in March, but then because of COVID and the lockdown, it took a lot more time and I just signed for it on November 18th.
Oh
So that
my
was like,
goodness.
yeah, November 18th. So
It's
really not that long.
like
It's
2 months
freshly
ago.
my shop.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was really cool this year selling the Christmas trees and being in charge of everything for the first time. I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of work and it's way more paperwork and bank meetings and accountant phone calls than I ever imagined. But when we were selling the trees, we would have dads there with their kids and they said, I used to come here and buy my Christmas tree with my dad when I was a kid, and I was like, oh my gosh, they've been buying their tree there for 30 years. And I thought that was so special. So it's
Wow.
been really fun since I bought this shop, just trying to figure it out. And, being the boss of these four girls in French is a challenge, but also so rewarding. So it's been really nice.
Well, I love that story because now you sort of have picked up this torch or this baton and are carrying on the history, and it's just so wonderful to see the passion. I get to see your face right now, just the passion, how it lights you up, and
Oh, thank
how
you.
well, I mean, you have you sometimes see businesses like this that get bought out, or ownership changes, and when that there's a history where people have literally poured their life, their love, their passion into a business, you like to think that that gets carried on in some way,
I
and
definitely
I see
respect
that.
the business. Yeah.
Yeah.
And their legacy. And I want to carry on their legacy. And also, I'm honored that they wanted to sell their shop to me after 30 years of having it. They have no kids. And I really know that that was like their baby. And I know it's a big deal that the day they told me they want to sell their shop, the next day I came in and said, if you don't mind, like I would really like to try to buy it. And they were so on board with me since the first day. And they said like that's what we always wanted. But we thought that you wanted to live in the US, you're American. And I said, no, like I mean, I feel like it's a sign, like I work here, I love it, and now you want to sell. And I can't imagine someone coming in and buying this and turning it into a restaurant or a store. Like it literally guts me to even think about that. So all I can think to do is try to get a loan and try to buy it and just carry on this beautiful flower shop that has been here for so many years, and these families, how, it's just, I think it's really special.
Yeah, it is. It is. And for anyone who hasn't, I usually wait till the end to do it, but I just want to make sure we do it now. Will you go ahead and share your Instagram, your social media spaces, because this store is so insanely
Picturesque.
beautiful. It is. It is like postcard worthy, and it's painting worthy actually, and
It
uh,
looks like a painting
it does.
to
It
me.
really
It
does.
looks like a museum of flowers or something. It's
So
gorgeous.
we're going to on our website, theflowerpodcast.com, we're going to have links to everything connected with Adrienne here. But so go ahead and share your social
Thank you,
media.
Scott.
Oh, sure. So that we
Okay,
can have that.
so let me write it down so I can know how to even spell this thing in French. Okay, so the name of the store, La Rosoir, that's the Instagram. It's LARROSOIR, Paris, PARIS, La Rosoir Paris. Um, I have an Instagram as well, Adrienne Ryser, ADRIENNERYSER, where I try to share more things about my private life with my French boyfriend, who's now my French fiance, and our
Congratulations.
cat. Thank you. And but following the flower shop is definitely a must do. It's really magical, and I'm in charge of the social media, and I post a lot. So
Yes, you do, and everything's wonderful.
thank
I know
you.
yesterday I had to. That's why I asked you to send it to me. That amazing shots with the snow falling. I mean, that could you have planned that any better? I mean, it's. I
I
mean,
was dying.
insane,
I
insane.
was freaking out. I was dancing in the snow. I cried. I was so happy. I kept saying, "This is the best day of my life." The girls who work at the shop probably thought I was insane. Like they're used to the snow. But for a California girl to be working in the shop and snow trickling down all day, I was so happy. It
That's
was
hilarious.
so amazing. I loved
Yeah,
it.
it was. All right, so I want to talk shop now because there's so many things about your store that intrigues me. And I don't know if that's indicative of French flower, floristry or flower shops, but um, when you walk in the door, even from the outside, I mean, literally from the sidewalk, it's such an inviting entryway because you it's like you hook people walking by having these amazing flowers outside, and then the doors are wide open just to kind of come right on in. So is that
Thank you.
is that just the way people like to buy flowers in France, or do you have, I don't know, tell us about that, your marketing or how you design the store, because it's so beautiful.
It's not a service. How do you say in French? A libre service. There's two different types of flower shops in France. There's a libre service, which is where everything is wrapped up and the customer can come up and kind of pick what they want and then bring it to the counter and the florist will make it. I don't love when customers touch the flowers. So everything is kind of set up outside. I try to put colors together. So I never mix whites with pinks, like whites go with greens. And I feel like that really makes it look cohesive. And that's what makes it look really special on the outside is actually just how we arrange the colors and the flowers and put a lot of thought into it. Um, the customer comes and we just ask them what they want. I mean, we have tons of bouquets already made. We also sell plants, or they can look around. They can tell us, I mean, if they have an ambiance they want to go with, we can show them like every table in the shop represents a different ambiance. So right now we are going into Valentine's Day. So we have like the red ambiance at the shop. We have like two pink tables, and we have a fuchsia and blue ambiance, and also a white and green. So we don't have to work like that. Like really the customer can have anything they want. If they want to take a red bunch and a white bunch and a blue bunch, we'll totally do it. But usually it's better to listen to our advice, and we just create beautiful bouquets. I can't believe we touch flowers all day long. Seriously, so cool. I freak out every day that like that's our job, is just playing with flowers. It's so fun.
Sure. Well, that's the one thing I always I think creates so much beauty is to have that impact of color. And so when you
Yeah,
literally step in the door, you see a table and it's all, thematically it matches, and it's
it's
very
very thought
colorful.
out.
And the other thing is you'll have some flowers I notice that are maybe more traditional mixed with other flowers that are maybe less traditional, but yet still all in that same color palette. So what happens? I mean, do you have every color palette kind of represented, or if like the colors you mentioned, I didn't hear yellow. So if somebody comes in wanting
Yeah,
yellow and you don't have yellow, how does
it's
that?
interesting you mentioned that.
Yeah.
I mean, we have yellow right now because it's mimosa season.
Mm.
So I have tons of mimosa. I bought 10 back. I don't even, like, it's crazy because I don't know how to say these things in English, because I learned all of these terms in French
Oh, I love
buying
that.
flowers at the French market. So I don't know how to say a back in English, but it's like a giant
It's a
thing. I
bundle.
bought 10 giant bundles, but it's in that plastic thing, like that plastic flower bucket. What is that
Yeah.
called?
I don't know what they call them in Europe. I know it's kind of like a Procona, the square buckets,
And
but I know in Europe it's the system that comes from Holland, I think, and it's that same
yeah,
bucket that's all designed that way. So,
yeah. Anyways, I bought 10 of those of mimosa, and we sold them all this morning. That was Friday, so it's crazy. But um the old owners hated yellow and orange. So I try to just like keep that in mind, and I really don't buy that many things that are yellow and orange. Sometimes I do, you just can't help it. Like the mimosa, obviously I love mimosa. It smells so amazing. It's
it
beautiful,
does.
and so easy. You just take one bunch and it already makes such a beautiful gift or such a statement. But yeah, we don't have all of the color palettes all the time. Also, it depends on the season. And like I said, now it's Valentine's. So I'm trying to have more of like a romantic-y ambiance. In summer, we'll probably have brighter colors. Maybe we will have a yellow, cream, mustardy table. I have had that before, but it just depends. I
Mhm.
don't always have yellow. I don't always have orange. I don't always have certain colors.
So how do you handle that? Because that's one of the details that really fascinates me, because I think by doing what you do, it feels more like a candy store, like this amazing place to come into. But then when somebody comes in and is looking for something, um, do you take a? I'm just curious how you
Yeah.
communicate, because maybe they're just conditioned because they've been trained over 100 years how to shop there, but because
Yeah, maybe that's it, because I get what you're saying. I mean, sometimes customers are disappointed. And if a customer comes in and they want a yellow rose bouquet with yellow daisies and wrapped in plastic, like that's just not something that La Rosoir offers.
mhm,
So that's why Paris is a perfect place. They can walk down the street. There's tons of other flower shops, dans la rue, on the road that they can go to that are probably going to offer that. But I think if you come to La Rosoir, you want to get that La Rosoir bouquet, and
sure,
that's kind of the point. And if you want to get something that doesn't really go with our vibe, then you don't come.
yeah,
Maybe. Is
yeah.
that
No,
evil?
no, I don't think so at all. But I'm glad you said that, because I feel like sometimes people who own flower shops start to feel sort of
Obligated to.
obligated, or that, what is it, FOMO, the fear of missing out. It's like, oh, I can't be, I don't know, there's a degree of confidence that comes with that. Does that make sense? Where you're
Yeah.
like, I have curated. I mean, I'm kind of speaking for you, which I don't mean to, but correct me, please. But
No,
it's like
thank you, because you have a way of words, and I'm like Struggling over here.
Oh, you're great. No, but I'm like, but
Thank
you've
you.
curated a select, buffet of beautiful colors and flowers and palettes, and this is the flower du
Experience.
jour. So, yeah, it's the experience, and the beauty of it is next week your store may look completely different, and
That is something I love about it too. Yeah, you're so
yeah.
right.
Yeah, and so it makes me want to come see. Oh, what is it going to be like this week? And you don't just walk by for walk by sake. You just like you pop your head in and take a look. And I realize I'm probably a little more geeky about that than the average person, but I know that especially if you've got people who are still coming there that remember buying their Christmas tree when they were a child, bringing their child now there is a history and a connection to the community, and you're just instilling that passion for flowers, and I just think it's incredible.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's really
So
nice.
one of the things that intrigues me, because when I come into a flower shop here in the States, most of them, not all, but most of them, all the flowers are kind of locked away in a cooler, and yours are in buckets throughout the store. And
Hmm.
I think, well, either she sells them so fast it's not an issue, or um, when it's 30 degrees out or it's 40 degrees outside and it's cold enough and the doors are open, it's basically a walk-in cooler.
Hmm.
How does that work on your end? Because I know if people see your photographs or your imagery on social media, they're gonna be like, how do they do that? How can they just have buckets of flowers sitting out?
That's something that blew my parents away. My dad could not, he said, "So where's the fridge?" And I said, It's weird. Like, there's no fridge. I mean, we just, if it's on a table, it's in a glass vase. And if it's on on the floor, yeah, it's in a bucket. Right now, we're basically working in a big refrigerator. I mean, yesterday was snowing, the doors were open all day, it's freezing in there. We have a tiny little heater and we're trying, but in the summer, we'll close the doors and we have the air conditioning on, and that is it. We have no refrigerator and no method of making the flowers chilled, or I think if we just cut the stems every single day, we change the water every single day diligently, it's totally fine. That's how they did it before. And
Oh,
that's, and
sure.
we go to the flower market 3 to 4 times a week, so the turnover of flowers is super fast, and it's just the way we do it.
Well, I think
No
that's the
need.
key. I think when you have the turnover, I think it's
Hmm.
kind of a mute point. Plus, one of the questions I was really curious about is sourcing flowers. It's my dream someday to come and see the flower market there in Paris.
I'll bring you.
Oh, that's I will totally call you.
I'll take you there. I can
um,
drive you. I can
uh,
drive in Paris.
I've heard so many incredible stories about it. Describe that, because I feel like it's kind of a little different situation than a lot of parts of the world. Um, do you have? I'm throwing a lot of questions at you, so you can kind of
It's okay.
explain it at once. So I really want to hear about the market. Also, I know we have a lot of people interested in buying local product, like things that,
Right.
because you're so close to Holland. I mean, there's a huge
Hmm.
influx of product from there. So tell us about
Yeah.
sourcing flowers in Paris.
So, like I said, we go to the market 3 to 4 times a week. The market is 30 minutes from the shop. It's called Rungis, Rungis, Rungis. And it's the biggest market in Europe, not flowers, but in general. And it's where all of the cheese guys get their cheeses, the vegetable, like the markets get their vegetables and their fruits there. We get their flour. They have everything. It's like an entire city, but dedicated to being a marché, a big market. It's really cool. I love it so much.
Is it
And
all
then
wholesale,
I guess it's like a
like for
wholesale. So
restaurants and things?
yeah, exactly. And then inside, so there's like a giant Costco looking room. And
Mhm.
inside there's called fournisseur. Like I said, I don't even know how to say these things in English and then they're called fournisseur. What is that called? I don't know. And there's many fournisseurs in Rungis, and you walk around and It depends on the season. Like there's this one guy, Olivier Beauregard, and he does the florets. So seasonal, like seasonal flowers. In the summer, he's there, he's doing the graminées. How do you say graminées in English? It's those little like cat's tails or pussy
Okay.
willow, the
Hmm.
things that just kind of flutter in the wind. He has those. He does like foliage, summer foliage. So he all of his flowers come from Barbizon. It's 1 hour from Paris. And I am one of his, I love him. I love his flowers. I buy tons of stuff when he's there. Otherwise, there are the mimosa that I'm buying is coming from this specific mimosa vendor who is only there right now during mimosa season. And he brings his mimosa directly from France, from the south of France. I guess I can say at the shop, we really have a mix of local flowers and flowers from other countries, obviously, Holland. We have roses from Ecuador. I don't have as many tropical flowers at the shop, but they have a tropical vendor and he gets his stuff from Africa and from other places around the world. So, I mean, we really have a mix at the shop, but obviously if I have the opportunity to get flowers from France, that's what I prefer. And I do gravitate more towards like the roses from France, obviously the mimosas from France. I like the foliage from France and as many French flowers as I can get. I had cute French tulips recently and
Oh,
if it
wow.
says, yeah, if they're from France, I
Sure.
prefer.
So at the market when you go, is it divided up that way? Or, like here in the States, um,
Hmm.
let me try.
Yeah, how is it in the States? Because I mean, I've never really been well, I haven't been to the LA flower market, which is so insane. And then I have memories as a child going to, I think it's called Mayesh in
Ash?
Carlsbad.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
one of my mom's best friends worked there, so I have, but that's really small compared to what I go to
Right.
in France. So I
That's
can't
what I
even
was
really
wondering because,
compare.
like here, you may have a wholesaler, and the wholesaler may have, depending on what part of the country you're in, may have local product. Definitely, probably has domestic product, like from
Hmm.
California or Oregon or Washington, some of these
Hmm.
other Florida, that kind of stuff. And then there's always the imports, and so the wholesaler
Right.
may have that, but then you may have. You know, down the road 5 miles, you may have a sunflower grower, and you may go get sunflowers from them. I didn't know if it worked that way there or if everybody just brings everything to this one common marketplace, just because then they have access to everybody and everybody
Hmm.
can come to it. And so that's why I was
I
curious.
think there's both. I think that there are people that don't bring their stuff to Rungies, but I have yet to buy flowers from someone that's not at Rungies. I really want to. I want to go visit these vendors' farms, and obviously, would love to support other vendors in France that don't sell their stuff at the market. I just have yet to discover this side of
Sure,
things, but I
sure.
want to. It sounds
Yeah.
really fun, interesting going around. I just brought with one of the girls who works at the shop. Um, I brought a giant sécateur, like a big giant scissors, and we went into the woods in France and we foraged branches and I found moss on the ground. That was really amazing. So I also thought like, I mean, I saw mistletoe in the trees and I was like, why do we buy mistletoe? If we can just snip it off a little tree and bring
I
it to
know.
the shop.
I know there's different places that have like laws and protections in place for things, but I saw that story you shared.
It was a small quantity, very
Okay,
small
I
in my
know.
defense.
But the ferns that you got, those like bracken ferns that were like brown, gold kind of
They were
color.
already dry. They were basically dead and going to become tumbleweeds if I didn't take them home with me. And they are the most stunning ferns. Like we have made dried flower bouquets with those flower crowns. They're beautiful.
Yeah, they were insane.
They
So
are insane.
that I'm glad you kind of said that because I'm different, different flower shops do different things. I know you sell plants. I know you
Hmm.
sell, bouquets and cut flowers. I also noticed things like little bottles of flowers and
Oh
wreaths
yeah.
made with dried flowers. I mean, do you sell,
Yeah.
is that a regular item or bouquets of dried flowers?
I mean, these are just kind of things I've come up with and presented the idea to the girls, and they're all really good artists, the girls that work at the shop. And so they really get into making these flower crowns with dried flowers. I mean, we think of different things. I mean, we just create all day long, different things, and we have projects going on always, and I love to have new things coming in. But yeah, those little jars are just little mini jars of dried flowers. I can send those anywhere in the world, I guess, because they are so tiny and light and
They're just cute.
transportable. They're
I mean,
just really cute.
yeah, I mean, kind of from the standpoint of a keepsake, or I don't
It's
know.
just so cute. A little souvenir.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. Yeah. Um, so gosh, there's so many questions I want to ask. One of the things I was wondering is, I know we were just talking about, lockdowns and curfews
Yeah.
and things like that. How did COVID impact your store? Like, did you have to close completely, or?
COVID has been insane. As I said, I was supposed to buy the shop in March, but I actually couldn't because of the lockdown. The first lockdown in Paris was very strict. It lasted 2 months. We were not allowed to leave our apartments. The shop was closed. I remember that Friday, I went to the flower market and I got the flowers for the weekend. So, really, a lot of stuff. And we usually close the shop at 8, and at 7:30 p.m. the government announced a national lockdown. We were begging people to take flowers. We gave everything away for free. It was insane. In 30 minutes, like, we literally were just giving people thousands of euros worth of flowers in 30 minutes. It was just beyond, I don't even know, it was crazy. And then we did the lockdown for 2 months. But then we got back to work in the summer, and then France actually announced a second lockdown. But this one was a little bit different because I was able to start a website, and then we started doing click and collect. So we did reopen, and we stayed open during the lockdown with the click and collect, and we were doing deliveries as well. Also, just the second lockdown felt different because we kind of knew what was going on. Like, we weren't as
Yeah.
scared. We were confident to open. And like, in the first lockdown, I didn't want to go to the flower market because I just thought that was, I don't know, just didn't know what COVID was and how,
It was scary.
fast it could spread. It was just so scary. But the second one, like, we kind of understood better. And, everyone at the market wears their masks, and it's very big. So, there's a lot of distance between people. But I have to say, just coming from the US, like, the French government has businesses backs like I have never seen before. And I remember when the president came on, announced the second lockdown, he said, like, to the small businesses, don't worry, I have you. No one's going to close. No one needs to panic. Like, we just need to close for the benefit of the people, but your business isn't going to suffer. And the government gives a lot of aid in France. So
Mm.
I'm really lucky. Like, I'm grateful to have this flower shop here because in the US it's just not the same case right now. And I feel so bad for the small businesses that are suffering in the US. They don't have the support of the government behind them, it seems. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
it's
trying
different
to,
in
but
France.
yeah, they're trying to, but
It
um,
depends where you are. I mean, in
yeah,
California, it's worse, I would say, than other places. But
right, right. Well, I know that's scary. So, that kind of leads me to one question I was thinking about earlier. When Now that you have the website and you have the curb and click, or click and curb, or
yeah, click and collect.
yeah, it's click and collect. Um, One of the things I noticed is when you guys design bouquets, I mean, I know you do all sizes, like the dried bouquets seem smaller, but some of these mixed fresh bouquets seem so huge. And I know you probably don't have anything to compare it to, but I'm just kind of curious, like maybe with your mom, maybe you guys have talked, like the price of flowers here versus the price of flowers there. Are they different, or are they similar? Because that bouquet just seems like it would be
Yeah,
a very expensive bouquet here, and
yeah.
maybe it's not as expensive there.
Well, I worked in that flower shop in LA, the Empty Vase,
Oh, that's
and
right.
right. So the prices, I thought they were normal. They're normal for LA, but compared to here, they're way higher, honestly. And I think Americans pay more for their flowers. So they sell the flowers at a higher price. In France, people are paying less for the flowers. The flowers are less expensive. So these giant bouquets, I know, and I try to, like, sometimes hike up the prices of certain things because I'm like, guys, there's no way that this beautiful flower crown made by you, a real artist, it took you an hour, is 40 euros. Like, no, but I honestly, that's the price of the flowers, and we're not going to steal from people. So it's just for me, comparatively, it's not expensive. If I ask someone who works at the shop, they might think it is more expensive, but I would say it's definitely way less in France, way less expensive to buy flowers and to work with flowers.
Interesting. Well, I
Yeah.
just know when I was in Holland many years ago, and I would see like market stands that just had like just bunches of flowers. I wouldn't say they were bouquets, but just bunches. And
Hmm.
you know that they probably went to the auction and they, bought through someone there, and then they went out on the street as a street vendor and things. And I felt like their prices were very affordable, which
Yeah.
I also know when flowers are more culturally valued. I mean, they're just part of their everyday life. I mean,
There's a flower shop on every street. I mean, in Paris, and it's just not like that in California, you know?
yeah,
The value
yeah.
flower is like there's no Target, there's no Walmart to go to. So to get your items, your groceries, you have to go to the butcher to get your meats. Then you go to the vegetable stand to get your vegetables. Then you go to the boulangerie where you get your bread. Then you're going to swing by the fisherman if you want, pick up your fish, and then of course stop and pick up your bouquet on the way home. And that's just the rounds that you make. And you go to a different place for each thing. It's to be expected.
I love that. I mean, to me, there's such a sense of community too that is just a
Yeah.
natural part of that, because these are the people that you see every day, because you don't go fill up your freezer with produce, or you don't, everything's fresh, or
And
it's
you don't have a car to fill up with stuff from Costco. So you really can only take what you can carry. So you're going to these places. I mean, my Ben and I, my fiance, we go
uh
to the grocery store or the market every single day because we live on the fifth floor with no elevator. So can't really carry that much stuff upstairs. But then you're right. It is such a sense of community. Like we know the people who work at these shops. They know us. They ask me, how's the flower shop? You know, my flower shop's 30 minutes away, but they know I'm a florist because we just talk and I see them every single day. I love that. It is so different from what I'm, used to from back home. I just think it's so cool.
yeah, that is really cool. I really love that.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Can I just ask you a quick question?
sure.
Because you mentioned, that you met your wife and flowers. And I just really wanted you to tell me that story if you would.
So
Please.
okay, I'm game. um it's kind of a cool story. So right out of college, I couldn't decide what I really wanted to do, and I ended up sort of falling into floristry, or working in a floral wholesale company that brokered flowers and things. And so one of the things we tried to do to grow the business was, we went to different cities and tried to scope out potential clients and things. And about an hour south of Atlanta, a little over an hour, um, I was in the Macon area, which is not far from where we just moved to. So it's like 20 minutes from there. Yeah, it's crazy how things come full circle. And so I had been going to this. I went to this shop, and I didn't at the time. It was an amazing shop, and I loved the variety of flowers that they had, and just they were so busy and everything. And so I thought this would be a potentially great customer. So I hung out there a little bit, and I'm going to give you kind of the Reader's Digest version, the short version. But I hung out there, and uh, ended up cultivating that relationship with that customer. And probably for about 3 months, I had been delivering flowers there, and we were boxing flowers, bringing them to them. And um, and I knew a lot of the women there. Well, one of them was a mother that had a daughter that also worked there, but she never was there when I was there because I always came on her day off.
The
Well,
daughter.
the daughter, yeah. And so we shifted days, just happened to shift delivery days because it worked out better for some schedule. And so 3 months into this, I finally got to meet Catherine. And it was funny because her mom there would joke about setting us up, or different things.
Hmm.
And I just didn't really think. I mean, it was just kind of, it was so humorous that I kind of didn't really take it seriously. Well, then I finally got to meet Catherine, and it wasn't much. It wasn't. Gosh, maybe a few weeks after that that we went on our first date, and we ended up getting married like the same year.
Oh
So
my
it
gosh.
was so exciting, and so yeah, so I rescued her from floristry, but
No, because you guys are still in the flower world
right,
together. It's so
right.
special.
Right, which has been great. I mean, she definitely understands the holidays and things like that, and she
Yeah.
still worked in it until our first son was born,
Oh,
and yeah, and so we have, gosh, it's been 28 years, and we've been got three boys, and they're all older now, and yeah, so
oh, thank you for sharing your story.
yeah, and she
It
helps.
reminds me, oh, sorry.
It's okay.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was saying, and now she is an integral part. We couldn't do the podcast without her. She does the website. She a lot of times when I'm out and about doing things, she handles a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, and so
Mm,
including helping with editing and things. So
mm,
couldn't do it without
wow.
her for sure.
Wow. It reminds me when you say her mom was kind of hooking you guys up in the beginning with that, because Ben's grandma, when I met her, she talked about Ben the entire day and how cute her grandson was and how smart he is and how he speaks perfect English. And I just thought she was, I don't know, I expected him to be completely different than he was. I thought, oh, who's this sad guy who needs his grandma to get him a girlfriend? Like, geez, poor guy. And then I met him and I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, now I know what she was talking.
Well, it's so funny because I think, you know, how many moms or grandmothers are always trying. I mean, it has nothing to do with who the person is. It's just their nature. They want,
I
they're always
I
making some kind
know.
of love connection for them. So I think that's great. So I guess, did she speak English well, or were you able to kind of
Yeah,
get through
she
that?
was she was a friend of my friend's grandparents. So she spoke perfect English, really well traveled, the grandparents, they both did. His grandpa is a dentist in the south of France with patients from international patients. So he spoke
Cool.
perfect English. And so does Ben. It's funny because his Ben works with his brother Rudy, and I see him every day. But he doesn't speak as good of English, and neither do Ben's parents. And it's just funny how amazing his English is because his family really doesn't speak English at all.
I was wondering because so I'm not going to even pretend that I can speak French at all. I know in high school I took some classes,
You did?
but that was a million years ago. So other than maybe counting to 10 and saying bonjour, that's about it. So, but
Oh,
I like to think it would come back. But anyway, but I remember learning a lot about back then that Americans in France, a lot of times there's um, kind of a struggle between them, and I wondered if maybe like the tourist side of it. I mean, you hear about the same thing in New York. When people visit New York City, and the people can be not as genuine or
yeah, like French people have kind of a bad reputation, right?
yeah, kind of. And the thing is everyone I've ever met is wonderful, but I do
Yeah,
understand that at some point you might get tired of having to play tour guide to people that can't
yeah.
even speak your language. And I understand the frustration with that. So it's not that it's not a judgment in any way, but I just wondered for you if that was a challenge that you kind of had to work through or deal with as you kind of, were basically putting roots down in a new country.
You mean when people come visit me, if I feel like pressured to kind of
No,
show?
just you, like as an American in a country, that you had to learn the language, or yes,
Yeah.
you had some great connections, but I wasn't quite sure if personally that was difficult, people accepting you as an
Yeah, I
outsider and
see.
things like that.
Well, I would say France has a bad reputation for having grumpy people, and that's probably why I didn't even want to come to France initially. But with my experiences, like that's just totally false. And French people are nothing short of amazing. And I guess, yeah, they're a little rushed in Paris, and they're kind of edgier, but I think that's just so charming. And like that's what makes it special is just like it's different. And you can't expect it to be how it is in the US, you
Right.
know? It's just
Right.
not the same. And that's what I try to tell people when they come here. Like, don't expect to have what you have in America. Like, open up and experience this other culture because it really is so different. I remember crying when I went to the bank for the first time because no one could understand me. And I had just graduated from college. I thought I was so smart, but I couldn't even deposit 20 euros. I just, things really, they do bring you down. But I think that, I mean, my boyfriend has helped me so much. I couldn't have bought the flower shop and have managed to do all the things I've done without his help. And having someone who knows French by my side, it has been so helpful. I mean, I give credit to anyone who can move somewhere by themselves and figure it all out because I didn't figure it all out for myself. I did have a lot of help. But yeah, it wasn't easy, but like it's doable, to move somewhere and figure it out.
Yeah. I feel like you just really, I'm glad you said what you said. You really do have to open yourself up and
Yeah.
not expect the world to conform to you and what you expect, but embrace the newness, embrace the
And the differences.
opportunity. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's such an opportunity. I mean, you think how many people have the opportunity to just pick up and move to another country to become part of that culture, to become part of that community and get to see the other side. And I think it's just wonderful.
It's
Um,
not something I ever expected. I never expected to move to Paris, and buying this flower shop all happened by chance, I would say, and by luck and by just I want to say following my heart. And I think that's something that people need to do. It. I just always did what felt right, even if it seemed weird or like so not normal to pack up and move to Paris at 21 with your cat and two luggages. But like it just felt like the thing to do, and it worked out.
yeah, that's wonderful. Well, I
Yeah.
always like to end my episode with a piece of advice that perhaps someone gave you during this time, or that you feel like you'd like to share to maybe flower shop owners or someone that may be wanting to follow their heart. Anything
Yeah.
in particular?
Oh, it's so hard, but I guess I would say what really helps me is if I know that I want something, I say it out loud. I tell people around me the things that I want. I write them down, and I feel like that way you kind of like you manifest it. Like if you tell people around you the things you want to happen and the things you want to see, then everyone knows and they know your expectations and it's just easier to make these things happen. Like it was scary telling the shop owners I wanted to buy their shop. I was just this little girl, didn't even speak French. But if I didn't say that, then they wouldn't have known and like these things wouldn't have happened. I love writing down my visions, vision boarding, which is like I know it sounds funny, but I have all of these notebooks filled with my little ideas and I like to go back and see the things that have come true. So I feel like just writing things down and saying them out loud is what people should do if they want to follow their dreams.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot because I feel like sometimes it, I don't know, I feel like sometimes opportunities present themselves. And if you don't speak it and if you don't, put some seriousness behind it,
Yeah,
people don't know or people don't hear. And I think, I don't know, I think it does help change your mindset um,
maybe.
to one of expectation a little bit. And I think that's great.
Truly,
Anyway,
truly anything is possible.
have,
Anything is possible. Just have to follow your heart and be confident and things happen.
things happen. Thank you so much for being on the Flower Podcast.
God, thank you so much. That was really fun. That went by fast.